We promised Nathaniel not to disturb Linds and his work in the basement, so I couldn't go looking for him. However, I'm fairly sure he'll turn up here eventually. Who could resist all of these books? So, when the faint sound of a footstep behind me finally heralds his arrival, I am not surprised. Good morning. Or is it afternoon yet?
I've only had 1 cup of coffee so far today, therefore it is morning.
How many cups do you drink in a day?
That depends on how large the cups are.
Excellent answer. I should know better than to expect a straight answer from him. Anyway, I was waiting for you.
Oh?
Since you were interested in our world, I thought you might like to see what the United States looks like. I've made a sketch. It's not exactly right. I can never remember all the little bits in New England.
New England is a state.
No, it's a region. Mostly where the original 13 colonies were. He taps the western half of the map.
These are your states as well.
By the time the West became states, I suppose people were tired of so many squiggly lines and set boundaries instead of letting them develop naturally. The middle bit was the Louisiana Purchase from France, and the rest from wars with Mexico, I think. What about here?
Most of this was Nueva España, which is now El Dorado. The Mississippi River forms the western boundary for much of Atlanta. Except here.
His finger rests over the coast of Louisiana State.
They conquered this area in the War of 1802 to ensure access to the port of Jendark.
They? Not we?
I was not there at the time.
He stretches, rolling his head from side to side.
While comparatively history is an interesting subject, its practical value is limited.
Actually, I'm taking cultural anthropology. Being able to write up an alternate history setting might be worth extra credit. And that's even true, which makes it a perfect cover story. I needed an excuse to talk to Lynn so that I could try to work up my courage to go further. Uh-huh. Wait, this is the western border? So if I cross the river, I'll be in another country?
That is usually how it works.
Do you get immigrants trying to swim across the river?
If you consider the Mississippi a practical swim, fitness levels in your world must be impressive.
Well, I certainly wouldn't. I don't know how swimmable it is. There's not much point, so I've never heard of anyone trying. If I wanted to get to Arkansas, I'd just take the M Bridge. It's not a real border. You wouldn't even know you'd change states without the road sign.
Our border with El Dorado is not completely open, but citizens of either side cross freely with identification.
What's it like on the other side?
If you want to know more, you might ask Raphael. He grew up there.
That's right. He said that his family... Wait, I thought Raphael said that you and he both moved here from the West.
I was working there at the time.
You're allowed to do that as an Atlantan citizen?
If your skills are valuable enough.
And I suppose they must be if his story is true. My classmates would scoff that he has too high an opinion of himself, but there's nothing wrong with being clever and knowing that you are. I'd like to see both countries if possible, and find out how different they are from my home.
I find myself more fascinated by the similarities than the differences. In a multiverse of infinite possibilities, how likely is it that you would travel from one Earth to another at the same physical geography?
I always said geography, which doesn't make any sense.
The same native peoples here, the same major powers in Europe, the same dialect shifts.
Well, if the possibilities are infinite, then anything is just as likely as anything else, right?
And probability is meaningless once the event has already occurred. We would need to travel to many different universes before we could establish any sort of pattern.
I'm sure with your help that we'll be able to find a way.
Flattery will get you everywhere, my dear.
Well, that was the idea.
Really?
His eyes got all big. I have to hide my face from his gaze. I'm no good at flirting, even with such an easy target. Guys often find blushing girls cute, right? Maybe he'll pick up on my signals and make this easier for me. He'll probably be, like, very direct, and then you'll be even more flustered. Ugh, what a coward I am. The whole point of this is to learn. How am I going to cope with a real romance if I don't have any practice? Should I throw myself at him and see what happens? I said I was going to flatter him, so... What should Janet talk about in order to stroke Linds's ego, quote unquote? His intellect or his appearance? Oh, he's a vain cockerel, so it's gonna be his appearance, I think. Maybe connecting that would be a... That's not the right way I wanted to go. Ah, up there. Maybe? Yes, maybe. It's a possibility. This might be a kind of a roundabout way, but... whatever works, right? You know what? We have a superpower that allows us to save. We got the Linds face now, so we're on his route for sure. Return. Alright, I'm going for his looks, because that's what appealed to me the first time I saw him. You're very attractive, you know.
Elaborate.
Well, I like boys with glasses. It looks dignified. And your hair. Some boy geeks have long hair, but it's often greasy or tangled. Yours looks like silk. Oh, really?
Would you like to touch it?
What? Her mind went somewhere else completely. Janet.
My hair.
Okay. I love touching guys' hair. I don't know what it is. It's just fun to play with boys' hair. It feels so nice. I don't know. I do it all the time with my husband and my brother. I'm just like, so relaxing. That probably sounds weird. Oh no. I admitted a weird thing to the internet. Don't look at me. I'm hiding my face in shame. I just like touching guys' hair, okay? It's not that weird. Don't look at me. Don't judge me. I got caught out. Linds, what have you done to me? Getting back in the story. I'm not sure what to do. I've braided other girls' hair, but I've never touched it just to touch it. And he's a boy. Man, I don't even know how old he is. His hair's completely white. Does that mean anything in this world? Hesitantly, I place my hand on top of his head and run my palm down his hair. It's soft. The hairs are finer than mine. Must be a lot of work to keep it so smooth and glossy.
Is this a request to borrow my conditioner?
If you brought some, then yes. I certainly didn't take any with me out to dinner.
I could help you wash.
Is he serious? Unbidden, the image of Linds wet and naked in the shower sneaks into my mind. Just very, very casually sneaks into my mind. Don't you think that's moving a bit fast?
Oh, I don't know. How would you like me to move?
I'm not sure. Suddenly I hear a faint beeping noise, the sound of my heart going into just starting to fail. Beep, beep, beep. I can't immediately see the source, but Linds reacts immediately. Oh, is that... It must be Bianca's heart monitor, maybe.
I must get back to my work. Perhaps we can continue this discussion later this evening.
Alright. Do you like curry, by the way, before you leave? Linds! Well, he's getting some anyway. It took me some time, but at last, dinner is ready. Nathaniel's kitchen didn't include ready-made curry powder or garam masala, but there were plenty of other spices that could be mixed together. I think that's more interesting anyway. Cooking is a bit like chemistry, except you're not supposed to make things explode. Good chutney is beyond me, though, even if the right ingredients had been here. So that limits what dishes I can present well. My father would say that a good dinner party should have many different dishes available so that the guests can try a little of everything until they find something they like. If you serve only one dish and someone doesn't like it, it's a problem. Of course, if my father were holding a dinner party, he'd just have it catered, and then it's easy to have a wide selection. Both of my parents can cook, but if they had guests to impress, they'd be too busy with other things than the food. Anyway, what I've ended up with is spiced potatoes, vegetable biryani, and sweet fried bread. Nothing too outre.
Is it done yet? I'm starved.
Yes, come on in. The boys begin to filter in and take their seats. Linds tilts his head curiously, drawing in a long, slow breath of air through his nose and holding it for a few moments before exhaling. All right. He doesn't say anything more.
Thank you very much for preparing all this for us.
Wait until you eat it before you say that. I know I'm not a bad cook, but I don't know what they like either. Anyway, help yourselves. There should be enough. I just dish some onto my own plate without waiting for anyone else. I'm hungry. The others follow suit, a little more cautiously in some cases.
Is there any meat in this?
No, it won't hurt you to eat some vegetables. Unless someone has allergies they didn't tell me about.
Vegetables are a side dish.
I'm not forcing you to convert.
I'm sure it will be fine.
The meal progresses quietly for a bit as everyone samples the food. Despite what he said earlier, I'm not sure Nathaniel is enjoying the meal. He doesn't seem to be eating very much. But then I haven't been closely watching how he eats before. Maybe I'm just paranoid. Linds isn't eating very much either and chews each bite with slow deliberation. He's probably distracted.
This is great.
Don't talk with your mouth full. He just grins at me. So, how's the procedure going?
What?
The thing. With the force field? To overload it?
Yes, that.
He sets his fork on his plate.
Everything is proceeding according to schedule. The stored charge continues to increase.
It's hard to imagine needing so much power that it would take days to build up the charge. Short circuits burn out very quickly.
They also have a distinct tendency to explode, which might be entertaining to watch from outside the house.
Even for you, that would be an expensive disaster.
Certainly. I myself am irreplaceable.
At least until you find a way to copy yourself. Can you do that in this universe?
Not yet.
And thank goodness for that.
I know it's too soon for you to know, but if you do end up remaining here, do you have any ideas of what you want to do with your future?
Well, I was thinking about becoming a doctor, but I don't know. I have an awful lot to learn about how things work here.
You might also be able to discover future advances that you already know about.
Isn't that cheating?
Would you rather keep the information secret and let lives be lost needlessly?
No, of course not. I can see it now. Dr. Bhaskar charges to the rescue, heroically performing unknown procedures on dying patients over the protests of her shocked co-workers because there's no time to explain when lives are at stake. My parents would be so proud. Except that they would never know.
In their hearts they would.
It's kind of you to say that. In their hearts, they'd probably believe I was murdered. They surely wouldn't believe I'd run away, not after last year. I've been making the best of things. I haven't given up. And if I had just run off, I'm not sure they'd be happy to see me back.
Hey Janet, is there any dessert?
I didn't make any, but there's still plenty of ice cream in the freezer.
That'll do.
Well, at least one person thinks my dinner was a success. After dinner, I wander the halls feeling restless. I know Lynn said he wanted to talk to me again later, but I'm not quite sure where he is or when it's safe to intrude. Well, this house isn't that big. I'm sure he'll turn up when he chooses. Aha! My wish is granted. He's doing his thing again. Linds is standing by the front door's force field with a variety of equipment. Is everything alright?
For the moment. I am simply taking some readings.
Without taking his eyes off his gadgets, he reaches over to a plate on a side table and picks up the last remnant of a sandwich, then stuffs it into his mouth. You didn't like my cooking, did you?
Oh, yes, dinner. I didn't dislike it.
You just decided not to eat it?
Strong, complex, and unfamiliar flavors tend not to sit well with me. I had a bit.
And then you snuck back to make a sandwich.
Actually, Raphael made the sandwich.
So Raphael still ended up having to do work for other people. That boy. What is it with you two, anyway? You said he's not your partner, but you treat him like your slave.
I most certainly do not.
He sets his equipment aside and turns to face me, all offended.
I have never forced Raphael to do anything.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to imply...
I allow him to live with me if he wants. He chooses to make himself useful.
So he's paying his rent and chores? But why is Raphael living with Linds in the first place? I can't help being curious, but my last question obviously pressed a button, and that is not the mood I'm trying to get Linds into. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to accuse you of anything. I was only teasing.
You apologizing for teasing me? How unusual. Does that mean that you wish to apply for the position of slave?
No. His eyes. I can't take him seriously when his eyes are all like, well...
What positions do you prefer, then?
Ruler of the universe sounds like a nice one.
But you'd have to best me for that.
Is that a challenge? He reaches out and brushes the backs of his fingers against my cheek and is blushing, which is something I'd never thought I'd see on Linds's face.
I do believe you were challenging me, which makes it my choice of terms for our duel.
What did you have in mind? He's touching me! Slender fingers, smooth and strong, cut my chin and tilted upwards. My lips trembled in anticipation. And then his face went back to this. And I snapped out of it again.
Perhaps a game.
What sort of game? His fingertips trail away, leaving me feeling flushed and off balance. Aw, yeah, he's a gamer? Sweet! I knew I liked you for a reason.
Video games. I brought my Magnavix with me.
Oh, video games. Okay. I'm not an expert gamer or anything, but I have played a few mostly RPGs.
Well then, come up to my room.
Your bedroom?
Where else would I keep an electronic games console?
Alright then. He's inviting me to his room? I haven't even managed to get a kiss from him yet. What would he do if I suddenly stood on my toes and planted one on him? But I wouldn't dare. I don't know how. I'd probably bump his nose or bite his lip or something. I hate fumbling through new tasks without proper instructions, gosh darn. I wish he would.
Follow me.
Oh yeah, he did have a game console in there before. I forgot about that. Linds leads me to a very tidy bedroom. Not as plain as the one I'm staying in, but it doesn't look lived in either. Very impersonal, which is a relief, but... This is your room?
This is the room that I am staying in temporarily. I believe it was originally intended for a housekeeper.
There's nothing here but a bed and a television with extras. Why would you bring video games with you if you were just going to someone's house to fix the electrical system?
It's too nice a job to rush.
Whatever he's up to, he was planning to be here for several days. You're doing some kind of experiment down there, aren't you? Our scientific curiosity took over our, romantic curiosity? Thirsty curiosity?
It will require more than that to interrogate me.
If I beat you, will you tell me?
Maybe.
You're as bad as a little boy.
Well, I did bring you here to play video games, didn't I?
Right. Well, show me what you've got.
Gladly.
He waits, apparently expecting some reaction. Well? The games?
Oh.
I feel like that was a moment. We had an opportune moment there, and it just flew by. He turns and fiddles around under the television set, hooking things up and plugging them in. And we didn't take the opportunity to check out his butt. Janet, I'm so disappointed in you. I wonder what kind of games he's got. I hope it's not all first-person shooters. I'm terrible at those. Same. A loading screen. Beep beep boop boop ching. Oh no! 8-bit!
You bit what?
The games. Retro thing. Well, what did you think? We're in the past, girl. I forgot that I was in the past.
Video games have changed a great deal, then.
Well, you still see oldies like that sometimes, but they're usually free or in compilations or cheap downloads. The home console games are usually 3D. Wow, you probably don't even have handhelds yet.
Portable games do exist, but in a primitive state. Yes, even by our standards.
You know, I may not be able to tell you how to build a 64-bit console from scratch, but I can tell you about 25 years of game and interface design.
That has certain possibilities. Of course, you are so advanced, your victory threshold should be higher than mine.
Not fair. I don't play retro games.
Let's just see what happens.
We sit on the floor in front of the bed and pick up the game controllers. The screen fills with tiny, low-color spaceships and monsters which explode in a shower of white pixels when shot. Unsurprisingly, he's better at this than I am. How did you beat that boss so quickly?
That's a secret.
You've already won, so what difference does it make? Just tell me.
Why do you want to know?
I don't like not knowing things.
Ah. The secret is to shoot the missile before it can launch so that it blows up inside the boss.
Sneaky.
It takes a deft touch to find a secret sensitive spot. A wink wink.
Ah! Oh! Really wink wink. Hello, CG. He puts his arm around me, leaning so close that I can feel his breath on my ear. He looks kind of skeevy in the CG, I gotta say, actually.
And you, Janet? What sensitive places might I find hidden here?
They wouldn't be hidden if I told you?
Oh, so you'd like me to find out?
His nose brushes against my neck, sending a shiver down my spine. If I weren't already sitting, I think I'd fall.
That's one. Are you ticklish, Janet?
Yes! No! I mean, don't!
Don't be afraid. I needed to know as a warning. After all, I intend for my touch to be pleasurable.
I can feel his arms around me, the warmth of him through my clothes. It feels nice. And scary at the same time. His palm slides down my arm to rest over my hand.
Would you like to spend the night with me tonight? With no strings attached?
So there it is, the offer playing on the table. An opportunity to be initiated by an experienced older man. He's cute, and I like him, and I thought this would be a good chance to practice flirting, and maybe kissing. But to go that far? Just for one night. No strings, no consequences. Is that really what I want? Oh, this is a choice! I think it's time for another save. We're getting some fun times in Day Warp 2. Wow, who knew? Linds 5. You guys guess what choice I'm gonna make. I bet you'll never guess. Pay no attention to which direction I'm going. I'm going to hell one day. Yes. I believe that I might like that. But I should tell you that I don't know how these things are done in your universe. Or any other!
Then I will give commands and you will follow them. Stand up. Put your hands on my shoulders. Yes, like so. Now close your eyes.
Eyes are closed. The heart thump going so fast with a question mark and an exclamation mark. A big exclamation mark. Oh, hello, little ball of light. Now, why can't all fun times just be like that in visual novels? I don't gotta read, like, the detailed explanation of what he did. Just like, huh? Oh. Oh! And then fade to black. That was great. Perfect. Thank you so much for that. I don't even have to put a timestamp in my description now for anybody. I can't believe that happened. I need water. That was amazing. Alright. Floating light. I am alone in the warm darkness, running away from the light. If it finds me, it will devour me. I have to hide. But I can't see where I'm going, so I bang into hard shapes. Furniture? And trip over soft ones. Wait! Is this cloth? If I wrap it around me, then maybe the light can't see me. I can't run forever. I have to try something. I shroud myself in fabric and wait for the light to pass over. Nothing happens. Am I safe? Or is it out there waiting for me? I know I need to stay hidden, but I have to peek. I have to see what's going on. I squirm inside my protective cocoon until I can find a slit to peer through. What? What is going on? Linds? Of course. I must have been dreaming. What is happening? Why does it look like Linds and Bradley have DH'd considerably? Especially Linds. What? That's not me in the bed with him, that's Bradley. Well, he still looks the same on his sprite. He looks much more ladylike up there, though. What is happening?
There. That's not so bad, is it?
And Bradley's blushing. Oh boy. It's gonna be one of those dreams.
It doesn't hurt anymore.
Of course. I have many skills.
What are they talking about?
Now, would you like to take care of Janet, or shall I?
Why not do it together?
4 hands reach towards my hiding place. Well, that was interesting. Oof! I was dreaming. I'm awake now. I think. At least it wasn't that scenario with Nathaniel and Alvin again. The things my brain comes up with, like, get their own CG. Bradley and Linds. Bradley would never. Never! Linds is still asleep beside me. I don't want to move for fear of waking him up. Poor Raphael. Did Raphael come in at some point, shake his head, and sigh and close the door and find somewhere else to sleep? Because if so, I feel so bad for Raphael. He snores, too. Worse than Vanessa. If I could tell her what I've done, she'd throw me a party in celebration. My parents would have heart attacks, but it's really none of their business. I am an adult now. I make my own bad choices. I wonder what happens now. We're still stuck in here for a few more days. That could be awkward. Will he tell the others? Will he want to do it again? Oh. A different kind of explosion happened. What was that? Wake up! I heard a loud noise somewhere in the house, like an explosion. I think something's wrong.
I'd better go see. Stay here.
Wait!
I don't have time to tell you everything. Get out of my way.
He stands up, not even bothering to put on clothing, and heads out the door with the sheet flapping loosely around him, leaving me alone in the dark. I don't know what's going on. I don't even know where my shoes are. This isn't what I was expected from a morning after. But it would be childish to cling to him and demand reassurances when he has work to do. I get another choice. Should Janet obey Linds and stay put? Good grief. There's gonna be another one I need to save. Bring. Oh, this is a tough one. This might be the choice I was warned about, actually. There was like a deceptive choice that could lead to different endings. Like, normally I would leave Bianca alone down there, but I'm a little weirded out that we had such a specific dream about Linds right before the explosion happened. I know it had nothing to do with Bianca, but you know what? Chase after him before something terrible happens. How am I gonna get here? Ah, I see. There we go. Gonna chase him down. And if I get a bad ending from here, I guess I can come back. I refuse to sit here clutching a sheet to my bosom like a helpless damsel. Besides, Linds took the sheet with him when he left anyway, so I have no sheet. I rush after him. I'm coming with you.
I told you.
Yeah, I won't touch anything without permission. You might need help. Do you really have time to argue with me?
Fine. Come on.
He actually agreed. Huh. Being a strong, independent woman is a good thing around Linds, apparently. We hurry down the stairs together. I'm on the lookout for signs of trouble, but I don't see anything. No smoke, no fire. Still, something feels off. It's too quiet. The refrigerator should be humming, but it's not. Is the power out? If the power overload happened ahead of schedule, then the force field could already be down. But what is Linds up to in the basement? So I find out before Bradley this time. It's a medical laboratory? There are computers and equipment, some that I recognize, some that I don't. And one patient surrounded by tubes and wires, unmoving. Linds hurries over to one of the computers and begins inputting commands. I stand back out of the way, staring. That woman on the table looks vaguely familiar, but I'm not sure what she reminds me of. She must have been down here all this time. Could Bradley have been right from the beginning? Has Linds been kidnapping women, holding them prisoner, and performing experiments on them? Well, he wouldn't have shown you. No, that's silly. If that were the case, Linds would never have brought me down here. Unless he was planning to chloroform me. I take a step backwards towards the exit, and he doesn't even seem to notice. It was only paranoia.
Nothing to worry about. Too much load upstairs. I just need to disconnect a few things and reset the breakers.
Wait a minute. If the power's off upstairs, shouldn't that mean that the force field is down and we can get back in touch with the outside world?
Not necessarily.
What do you mean?
I'm still seeing anomalies in the overall power structure. The backup generators never went offline.
If his intent was to overload the mansion's entire power system in order to shut it down and destroy the force fields, it shouldn't be possible for only part of the system to burn out. Most likely, he never intended to overload the power down here, which I suppose makes sense, considering. She's your experiment, isn't she? If that woman is on some kind of life support, it would be crucial that her power supply not be interrupted. Who is she, and what are you doing to her?
Attempting to restore her to life.
Eh?
Her name is Bianca Dean. She is Albin's sister and Nathaniel's fiancée. Last month, she suffered a cerebral vascular accident.
I believe that means bleeding inside the brain. That's very bad, because it tries to swell up, but the skull gets in the way.
Surgery repaired as much damage as possible, but she remained comatose with a steadily worsening prognosis. The flesh remained, but the spirit had departed. Her body was an empty shell, threatening to crack.
People do wake up from comas sometimes.
However, the majority of patients either recover or die within weeks. Which is why they found me. They needed a miracle. We should go back upstairs. I need to unplug things and reset the breakers before anyone else wakes up.
I follow along behind him, my mind whirling. You're not a chemist at all.
On the contrary, I'm quite fond of chemistry. How else could I go about creating pharmaceuticals?
We return to the main lobby where, as Linds had suggested, the force field is still in evidence. Why the force fields, then? What does that have to do with Bianca?
I am not entirely certain how they came about. There does seem to be some sort of feedback problem leaking into the electrical system. It was not intentional.
Wouldn't it be safer to switch to manual life support long enough to debug the system? If your technique is causing feedback surges...
It is more complicated than you imagine. A significantly higher energy difference is needed to get over the reconnection threshold than would be required to simply maintain an existing connection. By simultaneously increasing the energy of her spirit and applying an oppositional charge to her body, the threshold can be surpassed. But if the containment gradient were disabled at this point, the accumulated energy would release her spirit at a high imaginary velocity, which would displace it from our frame of reference sufficiently that it would be impossible to locate it again.
That sounds completely impossible to me.
That's why it calls for a miracle worker.
Can Linds really do something like that? Maybe in this world he can.
As it seems that I do not need your help, you should probably get some sleep. I'll update everyone on the situation in the morning.
Fair enough, I guess.